Yo, what's up? Let's take a look at what's new. So, I finished up level 2 prototype for Act 2. I'm pretty happy with it. Got a few things I'm mulling over though. So, let me start by doing a quick playthrough of this. Okay, so right off the bat, let me put this down a bit. So these red guys are the ones that take 2 hits, right? So one change I made right off the bat is I realized that when you come through a door into a room, one of the advantages of an enemy being on the other side is you get a free kill. He dies right away. But with these guys, they take 2 hits, so before he would parry you when you come through this door, and I figured, well, that kind of ruins the whole advantage of coming through a door on purpose because there's an enemy standing in front of it. So I went ahead and made it so that, indeed, they also die with 1 hit when you come through the door. Oh. Alright. I think it needs some more polish for a few different reasons, but one thing maybe you were able to tell from watching this is it can get a little messy at times, and I'm not talking about this mess. I mean, just the sheer amount of enemies. Like, one thing I was wondering about is, should I get rid of these one-hit guys? Because you already have to keep track of certain things now. Like, there are ways to kill these guys where it only takes 1 hit. Like, I can throw a shuriken. Whoops. I can throw a shuriken at him. I can kick an object. So there's already things where you have to keep track in your mind that, like, okay, this guy's going to take 1 hit, this next guy's going to take 2 hits. And when you mix the different enemy types together, it gets chaotic. When you know how to do everything perfectly, like you map it all out, exactly where you're going to go and how many times to hit each guy, like that right there, that's awesome. And that feels great. But when it gets messy and you're like, oh shit, what is even going on? It's kind of, it gets crazy and it feels like you're sort of just panicking and you randomly clear the room. I don't like that feeling. Now, to be fair, one thing that I'm wondering about with how I've set things up here is how much of the messiness is just because I've created a relatively small room. I think because of how these guys parry your attack and dash forward as you strike through them, it just naturally demands larger room designs, I think. So I suspect that this isn't really a problem with the mixture of guys. It's more so just that I need to open up the rooms enough and give enough space and enough timing between the enemies for it to work well. Because this is a good example right there. Like, I'm able to do that because I'm just so fucking good at the game, but like, but someone playing this for the first time, like, it's crazy. You'll be like, what the fuck is even going on here? Like, you know? It gets nuts. I think it also doesn't help that this gray background that I set sort of, I know, it kind of messes with your vision a little bit, but But yeah, those guys get on top of you. Yeah, like, they just get on top of you so fast. I think that's what's making it so messy, so... I think the next step will be to play around more with proper room dimensions. In the first level of the game, or the first level of this act, it works pretty well. Which I think is because in that level... there's just so many such fewer enemies, and I think it feels a lot more spread out because of that. Even there, it gets maybe a little claustrophobic. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then because of those changes I made with the door stuff, I redesigned this so that now instead of I want the player to learn right away how these red guys work. So I put a blue guy in front. He dies right away, and then you learn how that guy works. And then here in the first room with the red guys, both of them are standing by the door, so that however you approach it, you can learn like, oh, okay, I can still kill them with one hit behind the door. But yeah, this one feels a lot more doable. And I think it's just because, yeah, you have so much more space here and time to figure out what's going on. It's frantic, but it's reasonable. This is the first one where it maybe gets a little claustrophobic. See, like when it works like that, that feels so good. It's so satisfying and cool. It's just when it's something like this. Yeah, like this room. Yeah, these two rooms are too small. I think I'm gonna need to push these back out a bit. The problem, I remember when I was designing this though, that part of the problem is if I move... Let me play through this part first too. Okay, that part's kind of crazy too. This was another thing that I was thinking about. When it comes to these guys. I was thinking the guys on the far end of the room are running at you too fast. There's a lot of complexity to how enemies decide how quickly they should start coming after you. It's based on like whether or not they can see you, whether or not there's an enemy they can see that's already running towards you, and also, most importantly, how far they are from you. Okay, that guy's patrol path needs to be fixed. But... oh shit. Didn't even notice it. Okay. But yeah, the problem is with these rooms, if I expand them, if I lift this up here, then that means this part gets longer. And if I stretch this out here, then this part gets longer. And I wasn't a fan of making these rooms like so much bigger than they already are. But I think I've got some space there. It should be okay. Probably want to spread these out more a little bit. So anyway, I'll probably expand that at the top. Yeah, you can see relative to the sizes of these and how many enemies there are, these are by far the most compact rooms, and that's where it gets a little crazy. So yeah, I think in general a lesson I'm learning here with these guys is these enemies demand more space, more breathing space for the fight to be fun and not just a fucking mess. The tricky one, part about this level is I don't want to make this room too big. So that's why I'm kind of limited in how long I'm making all these other rooms too. I have to go more wide than long on these. And like I was saying, the one other thing is I'll show you with this center room is how long before those enemies come running after you. Because I want that to be one room. And hypothetically, you can wait for them to come to you, but but right now, like I made these three guys walk together. See, like they all come at you pretty quickly and in the same way. That's... I have some playing around to do with this. Maybe I need to add more obstacles there, I don't know. Maybe I should slow these guys down a bit too. At least the guys that parry you. But yeah, that's the thing I don't like about that room. I kind of want there to be a more distinct... Whoops. Oh, how did I do that? Why is that happening? I think that's the thing with the room. Okay, so I don't know if this is just because I don't... I mean, this should work. It shouldn't be a problem. I want to quickly check if that's an issue in the other levels. I sure hope not. I don't think it is, though. That's a classic problem that I had in the past. Yeah, it's probably something that requires the complete art to be in there for it to make sense, maybe. Because this room also has... Yeah, collision's tight. Alright. I'll figure it out later. But yeah, I even though this is one room, I want this to be... I want it to feel segmented, like these guys come a little bit later. I wonder even if I... grab these guys, not this one, but see, one of the things they all have is a meters per second. So how far away, for each meter they are far away from you, how many seconds to add. It's a little weird to think about. So the lower the number, the less meters before you add a second. So it's like the lower it is, the longer they take. Where's this other guy? That one too. And then also, is it this guy? No. Maybe this guy? Yeah. If I make these guys wait a bit longer, let's say 25. One other thing I don't like is how they all come at you like very directly. I added a bunch of stuff in the past to make it so that sometimes I can tell them to come at you from a specific angle or a side. Like they try to get onto your left side or your right side to outflank you. But I haven't made good use of that here, but... Yeah, this feels much better. Giving it a bigger delay. Oops. Oh, I think I know why. I'm pretty sure it's because on these doors I have like a really small... Oh no. Okay. Maybe I don't have any idea why. What the fuck? Like, it should push you out of this collision after you get through. Oh, actually, no, I do see why. Because this door is... Oh, okay, like, if I move this back a bit, I bet it won't happen. It's because the door's collision is technically overlapping with the room, so you're able to land right on top of it, and then it screws up the collision for that. I bet if I move this guy just back a bit more, and then this room's area is like here, that should be okay now. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, basically just pretty much was an art thing. Okay, anyway. I mean, that works pretty well. But I really would like it if some of them are clever enough to try to flank you out the other side rather than having them all basically run directly to you. Like that, yeah. So I have this thing, I wonder if I can test it out right here. I have this thing where on each enemy I can tell it how to, like, what direction to come at the enemy from. So for example, here there's a target orientation and a target direction. So I can tell them, like, either try to get onto the left or the right side of the player, or try to get on the top or bottom of the player. And oh, sorry, I was looking at the wrong behavior. Yeah, and they try to get, like, and I tell them, like, give them an offset. So they try to come at you from like 7 meters to the right before they start going directly for you. Now I have all of them by default set to horizontal left, I guess because it didn't really come into play in the previous levels I designed, but here this is one where I very specifically want them to be smart about this. So I wonder if I go like horizontal right on this guy, and maybe we'll say the same for, I don't know, like these two. I haven't looked at this stuff for a long time though, so I don't know if this is going to work exactly, but I think it should. Did it? That blue guy is definitely coming to my right. I guess, well, okay. So I think it makes sense because the pathing, the way it works is it's always trying to find the shortest path to you, right? And then once it finds that path, though, it tries to offset it. So these guys are being told to come up here when I'm standing here, which makes sense because that's obviously going to be the shorter path than going like all the way around here and then coming to here. But they're like trying to come at me from here and then like going to my right side, but there isn't really anywhere for them to go here, so they end up just coming directly. But that blue guy, I guess because he's standing there, he ends up coming around here. So I think the real test will be if I'm standing If I'm just standing here, yeah. I wonder what happens if I... Probably have to look into this some more tomorrow, maybe. So let me write down what I do need to work on for tomorrow a bit. So like expand the rooms more. Bigger room sizes in Act 2. And check for flanking behavior. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so anyway, I got the basic prototype for this done. I guess I'm just going to work on expanding those rooms tomorrow and getting this room to work the way more so that I want it to. Make it a little more interesting with their behavior. The other thing, okay, a couple other things I did today. There is this one annoying thing that could happen sometimes where, let's say this guy, let's say I burst into this room and this guy comes running for this kickable object, and if he's right on top of it and I go and I dash towards it as well, if he's right on top of it just as I'm coming in, he would kick the object at you, stun you, and sometimes he might hit you with it, stun you, and then kill you. Other times, maybe he hits you with a kickable object, but you kill him. And this resulted in a bunch of situations, especially in the first few levels of the game, where it's just really confusing because it happens so quickly. And so you're a little, I don't know, disoriented about like what the hell just happened, especially when you end up being the one getting killed. So I added some logic now to be like, it's a little sophisticated. It's if you're already dashing and you're within a certain range, enemies won't bother to try to kick the object at you anymore. And if you land, because the other thing too is could be like you dash and then you land right in front of them and then they kick you. And again, the distance from you to the kickable object is so tiny that you barely have time to register what happened if he hits you with it. So I also made it so that when you land, also if you're standing like right in front of it at that moment, he won't kick it at you either. So just another subtle thing I added to make it more clear about what's actually going on in the game. Just because everything is so fast. And I feel like I should always design things in favor of the player so that when you do get screwed, you can always tell exactly what happened. Another thing was enemies kicking these objects at each other. That was a thing I added because I made it so that the archers could shoot each other if you dodge out of the way. The problem was before the archers were killing each other too often because of how I wrote the logic. So I fixed that up to make it that the arrow had to have been on its way to hitting you because I want it to be a more of an intentionally dodge it and then get the enemy killed because of that kind of thing. So I already had that implemented for the projectiles, but I forgot to do it for the kickable objects. So these guys were all hitting each other with kickable objects too frequently, and it looked kind of dumb. So I fixed that up too. And finally, I started thinking already about the second enemy type in this act. So I set up his basic prefab, and I've got some animations for him. He doesn't have an attack or a running animation yet, so that's why he transforms into the other guy. Still using those. He's got his deaths though. I think I need to make those, scale that up a bit. But otherwise, it's pretty cool. With these, I don't know how I want them to behave yet. And this is, I set them up because I wanted to start thinking about this and experimenting with it. Way back when I was first prototyping all the different enemy types, My original idea for this guy was going to be a ninja thing where he disappears and then reappears in a random position and then dashes at you. But now that more of the game is established and I have a good feel for how the gameplay works, I already know that's going to be way too insane. Trying to keep track of that while you're also going back and forth between these other guys, I don't think that would be very fun or interesting. And I think it could get crowded really fast as well. Also, I've had a design pillar that I've been following where I never want there to be periods of time where enemies are essentially invulnerable. I want you to be encouraged to always be on the attack and for the combat to feel like it's constantly flowing and dynamic. So I try to avoid things like that where, like, an enemy disappearing temporarily, for example, you'll be potentially just sitting around waiting for this guy to do his thing before you can kill him. So I I'm just absolutely not going to have any enemies where you're ever waiting for some move on his part before you can do your move. So that idea is out the window. So then my second idea was going to be that these guys would just run at you, and then once they're within range, they dash at you right away. And I was thinking today that that's too similar already to these guys that take 2 hits. I want each enemy to feel different and new and require you, at least feel like it requires you to take on some kind of different strategy. So with the second enemy in the first act, those guys are always dashing at you. First of all, the fact that they move that way gives you more breathing space, and it just feels different from the first guys who run at you. And then, of course, there's the fact that when they're dashing, if you happen to attack at the same time, they'll parry your attack, and then you have to swing back at them. So that creates like a different mechanic and something new and fresh, right? So I want the complexity of the game to increase and to keep adding little differences like that are kind of minor differences, but they make a big difference in how it feels. So now, similarly, I've got these first enemy types who they always block your first attack, and that feels really great and adds something that feels totally new. So I'm super happy with that. But now with these guys, I'm thinking like, okay, this idea I had, it's not really different enough. Like if they just run at you like these guys do, but then they just dash at you from a far distance, it's basically the same thing. They just move faster, pretty much. They just have a dash on top of their running at you. And that won't involve anything different from how you're already approaching these guys. So I'm not happy with that. Thankfully, I had the foresight not to have any attack animations made for this guy so that I can figure out what I want first and then get Maria to make whatever appropriate animations will be. So I had one other idea, which was, and I'm going to have to test this out. And even this one I'm not really happy with. I think I need to think about this more. The other one I was thinking was, okay, the first enemy of this act is kind of like an upgrade on the first enemy of the first act. Those guys, you kill them in 1 hit, and these guys, you kill them in 2 hits, and otherwise they behave the same, but it creates a different kind of feeling. So like a more evolved version, right? So I was thinking, okay, well, maybe these guys can be like an evolved version of the dashing enemy. So the other idea I had was maybe they do a double dash instead of a single, and they come at you in a zigzag pattern so that you have the possibility of you missing. So like when they get close to you, they don't just dash directly at you to attack. They'll like move to the side of you and then try to hit you. Something like that. But I'm not quite happy with that because I feel like even that is... I don't know. I feel like it's still just doesn't feel like an evolved or different version of those guys. It feels just like a kind of a weirder version of them. I don't know. I have to think about this, I think, a lot more. And this is the trickiest part, I think, of for developing the rest of the game, is taking these simple mechanics and coming up with creative, clever ways of extracting more complexity out of the enemies and making it feel increasingly challenging and increasingly complex, and in a way where the enemies synergize with each other. I have a good idea for the third enemy, the gun guys who will shoot at you, that I think will work well. But for these guys, I'm really not sure right now. and I have to avoid any kind of chaos. I think in the first act, the dashing and the guys who just run at you work well together, because the guys who dash, they in a way they move slowly because it's only like once every half a second or so that they move. So that gives you some breathing space to think about how you're going to approach the different enemies. Whereas if I made these guys just run at you, it'll just feel like a mess of you being swarmed all the time. So that's why I do feel like they should be also based on dashing somehow, like the guys from the first act, but something about them, I need to add some kind of twist to them. And one idea I had was to make it that they always dodge your first attack. Like they actually kind of wait around for you to attack first. So that you have to maybe use your dodge to fake them out and then kill them. But that's an idea I wanted to save for the last act, because I was thinking that that's kind of like the height of the complexity, is having to use your dodge specifically to get around them and kill a certain kind of guy. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I have to think about this more. But that's what I got so far. So yeah, keep polishing those first 2 levels tomorrow and figure out my standard room sizes and all that, but it's mostly done, so that's good. And maybe I'll get some stuff done on figuring out what I want to do with this jazzy swordsman, as I call him. Now, in other news, I got an email. Okay, so I got a couple emails. First, DevGam Indie Awards. So this is an indie games award show in Portugal run by some developers and stuff, I guess. And my game was accepted into it. I don't even know if everyone is accepted into it. Whatever. But I did not make it into the second round of judging, I guess. The second round of competition. Now, they said... So I was pissed off about this for multiple reasons. First of all, so I get the rejection thing from them. So my first reason for being pissed off was because I read here that 600 games were accepted into this competition, and 33% made it into the second round of judging. So that's a third, approximately 200 games. There is no fucking chance there were 200 other games better than mine. I say that not out of arrogance or something, but like, I'm sorry, my game has a certain level of quality, and knowing the average quality of most indie games and looking at them and stuff, like, there's just literally no way. It's good, especially when I like look also at their history of like a lot of the games that got submitted and stuff. Like, no, dude, there's no fucking way there's 200 games that were better than mine. Now, secondly, I don't know how their judging actually works, but it seems kind of, and to be fair, I mean, I don't know what you do when you have like 600 fucking games to look at in the first place. So I don't blame them, but it seems like they have apparently 150 plus judges, 600 games, and they're judging them initially in this first round based on, I think, either trailers and also possibly, I can't remember now, but I think I had to submit a raw gameplay video as well. And so they watch these videos and I guess they vote on them or something. So in this email I got where they told me I was rejected or didn't make it into the second round, they told me I would get another email in a day or so with any feedback that the judges left for me. Now, right off the bat, I just want to say about the voting system, like, okay, 150 judges with 600 games. Not a single person is sitting down and watching 600 videos of games and deciding which of these are the best. So there's probably a certain amount of luck involved in terms of how many people actually even look at your game, and who knows internally how it works exactly. I got the email with, they were like, we're going to send you an email with feedback from judges if they left any feedback, and I received 7 feedbacks. So then that raises the question, okay, so does that mean 143 of the judges never even looked at my game? Does it mean that 143 out of 150 like didn't like it or didn't care about it? I don't know, but either way, it seems like yeah, I don't know. Like it's pretty luck based in terms of what kind of visibility you get and how many people bother to look at your stuff. I don't know. I would assume, like, if I had to guess, maybe they just look at some cover art or something and decide whether or not they're gonna like bother to look at the videos or something. Who knows? Anyway. So, I look at. All right, I go ahead and I read these. Let me read them to you. These are the pieces of feedback I got from the judges, which I don't know, partly make me even more confused. So Judge 1 says, Hotline Miami in Japan, I'm in. The level design looks good. The game mechanics, now this was the next thing that pissed me off. The game mechanics seem lifted straight from Hotline Miami, so it's hard to fault them, although they lack some innovation. Okay, slight detour here. Earlier today, I also got an email from this other website where they post like new indie games and then people vote on them and you can win like the top game of the day. So my game, when I was featured, was the game of the day when I competed against a few other games that day. And for winning, you get a Reddit ad, a small paid Reddit ad that they'll pay for, and then they do a little Q&A with you. So they sent me this Q&A, and one of the questions in it was what was the hardest thing to nail down during development? And I said it was the combat mechanics, and that I spent literally, I think, a whole first year of development experimenting with the combat mechanics and iterating on them until I was happy with them. And as I'm writing that, I sit back and I realize, like, yeah, holy shit, dude. I spent a whole year meticulously perfecting every detail of this combat system to make it all come together, just to have some jerk off watch a short video and be like, so it looks like the mechanics are literally just the same as Hotline Miami. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, again, I don't blame them too much because superficially, if you just look at a video of it, I get how it comes off that way. But if you've played it, it's obviously not like Hotline, like, at all. Like, clearly, yes, the loop is the same, and superficially, like, it's the same subgenre or whatever. But mechanically, it's like they share almost nothing in common, and it clearly feels completely different to play the game. And I feel like even watching a video, there's some pretty obvious things in the game that are like, how could you think this is the same as Hotline, you know? Or at least reserve judgment unless you've played it since... you know, the dashing mechanics and the kicking of the objects and the way the rooms play out and the parrying with enemies and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, even if you can't tell exactly what's going on, it seems like there's enough there that you wouldn't be like, oh, this is lacking innovation and it's lifted straight from this and what. And I've gotten comments like that on on other videos I've posted before or whatever, but not ironically, but of course, when people actually play the demo and I get feedback on the feedback form, then in the actual people who play the game, they're like, oh, it's so nice to play something that feels so different and is something like, like refreshing to play something that feels new and yeah, whatever. That's like an evolution on the genre. So anyway, it's just... it just sucks that doesn't come across enough in the videos, and I can't even really do anything about it. Like, I don't even know... I can't convey the feeling of playing the game, I guess, in videos, and what it is that makes it so different, I think, much better than I am now. I guess, I don't know, maybe I should try making one of those... Sometimes I notice indie games have trailers where it's literally the developer doing a voiceover of, here's my game, and here's how it works. Like, going into detail about it. Okay. Judge 2 says, game aesthetics is brilliant. Core mechanic looks both intriguing and pretty plain. Again, I can't fault him for thinking that, but it's a perfect example of, yeah, you have to play it to see why... like, yes, it's simple. It's meant to be simple, but you have to play it to see why this synergizes so well and where the complexity comes from and all that, and that it's like, it's not as simple as it seems, So it reminds me of all those messages I got when I posted videos early in development, and people were always like, oh, this looks too easy. Like, you just point and click. It looks so easy. Whatever. I released the demo, and it's like, yeah, not so easy, is it? Need to get back to this. Oh, yeah. And then he says, need to get back to the second character, and fact that there's some second character looks confusing. I don't really know. I assume he's talking about Genyu, which I guess maybe it's not clear what his role is in the trailer, and that's what he's referring to. I don't know, but I don't really see what could possibly be confusing about it. Again, if you've actually played the game, which I'm playing them for, but feels more like Osu or a precision training game. That's not a bad comparison. Judge 3, take my money. Wow, the game looks absolutely fun. I can't wait to try it out. All the best. Thank you, but I don't know. Does that mean he voted for my thing? I don't know. Oh, I forgot to mention, sorry, the first guy. The production, I didn't say the second sentence. He said, the production seems solid and well thought out. I won't deny that it's not my favorite to win, but it definitely deserves another round. So, another one where I don't know, does that mean like he voted for my thing to be in the next round, but I just didn't get enough votes or something? I don't know. Judge 4 says, a very fast-paced game for fans of Hotline Miami. That is, in fact, a description of the game, but not much of a judgment. Not really a judgment, and not really feedback. Judge 5 gave me a thumbs up emoji. Judge 6 says, it's neither, this is another got under my skin one, it's neither great execution that goes beyond other games in the genre. Objectively it is, actually, but again, you might not be able to tell from just watching a gameplay video. Nor is it a strong contender to stand on its own and make something quite new. Again, just the same fucking critique that comes from having not fucking played it. Judge 7, the idea is great, but the close-up camera mixed with sharp camera shaking makes my head hurt after a couple of seconds of looking at this. Fair enough, some people get queasy with stuff like that. Nevertheless, the game looks fun. But once again, in the actual game, you can turn the screen shake off and you can zoom the camera out. So it seems like overall, the people who had something to say about the game, again, I don't know, does this mean 140 judges didn't even look at it? Which, I don't know how you would do it any better, so that's fair, but it kind of sucks. But yeah, overall, I don't know, it seems like a mixture of positive and negatives based on assumptions that I can understand why they're made from watching just videos of the game, but which are in fact arguably factually incorrect and are not giving me the credit I deserve for the amount of effort I put into making something that is in fact quite different, at least if we're just talking about the mechanics, if nothing else. So, you know what I was thinking is pretty funny too? Even when I first got the email just saying like, oh, you didn't make it into the second round, and I was just like, I don't even give a fuck what you... Oh, no, when they said, we're going to send you an email in a couple days with like feedback from judges if you want. And I was like, why do you think I give a fuck about what your judges think? who are these people who think they are in a position to be giving me feedback, okay? And but I was thinking, what's funny about this is it makes me think that it's like this is my version of like, you know, when you're some guys, they get like mad if a girl rejects them, right? Like, so I go to ask a girl out and she's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not really interested. And then you're like, yeah, whatever, bitch, you're ugly anyway. This is like the business version of that, where I'm just like, hey, could you check my game out? I'd like to submit my game for the awards ceremony, for the awards competition, and, you know, please evaluate it. And they're like, we're sorry, you didn't make it to the second round. I'm like, I don't even give a fuck what you think anyway, bitch. Okay. So there you have it, folks. Now I am filled with spite, and I must continue to develop this game and make it into something absolutely fucking brilliant so that I can rub it in the faces of these completely anonymous judges who probably won't even remember after looking through 600 games. But dude, like 200 games were better than mine? Not a chance. No way. But what can you do? But hey, I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of... I'm really curious to know how much this Reddit ad that this other website's going to post for me, like how much money they spend on it. It's probably going to be like $100, not even. Maybe it'll be like $50. Maybe it'll be 20. Wouldn't be surprised. It's a pretty good incentive to make people want to sign their games up to this website. Nextupgames.com. There you go. I just gave you guys a free advertisement for the 5 people who watch these videos. Alright, anyway, sorry. Forgot I'm making a video here. That's it for tonight. I got nothing else to say. Just gotta keep hustling. And I have a feeling I'm gonna have to come up with something brilliant to ramp up the game as it goes on, like with this dashing enemy. It's giving me a little anxiety thinking like, these simple mechanics, how do I really squeeze out? It's fun though. It's one of those things where by putting minimalistic constraints, it forces you to have to think outside the box and be creative about how you're gonna extract as much complexity and interest out of a simple set of rules. But I'll figure it out. Peace.